Probably the most miserable day that we've had all year, but whatever. I just wanted to take today as an opportunity to compare these two lovely bikes. For those of you who don't know, this is my brand new 2024 Panigale V4, and this is my friend's Kawasaki ZX6R, which is also a 2024. Now, before I begin, I realize that this isn't really a full, fair comparison, but to be honest, I thought it would just be interesting to compare two of these bikes that are both very dominant in the sport bike world right now. People love this bike. People love this bike. I wanted to compare to see if this bike is worth 3 times the price as compared to this one. Just to be clear, this video is meant for people who are not terribly familiar with motorcycles, so I'm going to be explaining a lot of basic stuff that people may not realize about these bikes. So for people who are not terribly familiar with these bikes, this is Kawasaki 600, so it's meant for beginner to intermediate level riders who want something reliable, pretty fast, pretty reasonably fast, and something that they can ride every day without any problems. Meanwhile, this is Ducati's Panigale. This is the non-compromised at all, full race bike, no amenities whatsoever, high heat coming from the V4 motor. This bike is meant to be as ridiculous as possible with zero compromises, win at races, and be really awesome at track days. As you can see, this comparison is already kind of falling apart. However, this thing can be saved by the fact that these bikes have actually very similar amenities. These bikes have a lot of similar amenities, like full LED lighting, which is something that you don't even see in a lot of modern cars. It has a full little smartphone screen that has Bluetooth connectivity and all that stuff. To be honest, it's kind of crazy considering this class of motorcycle. Look at that, dude. Full LED lighting for a $10,000 motorcycle. This is something that we have not seen in recent years except for this bike. And of course, this bike is going to share that too, but this is also 3 times the price. Although this is where you're going to start seeing some differences. The Ducati has these all of these meticulous little modes that you can get into and select exactly how you want the bike to behave, such as wheelie control, traction control, cornering ABS, cornering traction control, all this crazy stuff to really define the bike how you want it to ride. Since the Kawasaki is built to a price point, it does not have all these extra features. All it has is just a basic traction control that you can find on basically any car. It's still something to save someone who's not as experienced, but it's definitely not as crazy as the Ducati. Another major difference that you're going to see between these bikes is materials, magnesium engine covers. You will not see that on the Kawasaki. You have little bits of carbon fiber everywhere, and obviously these these forged carbon pieces, these are aftermarket that I put on. You'll also see things like steel braided brake lines from the factory, which the Kawasaki just has rubber. Steel braided brake lines are much appreciated when you're riding the bike hard because they will prevent the brake fluid from expanding on the line, which will help your braking. This bike also has heated grips from the factory, which is also another nice thing to have. It's a luxury item when you're riding a bike when you're exposed to the elements. Also, something I noticed about this bike is that they actually both share very similar suspension. I don't know if it's the exact same suspension because I know Ducati might get a slightly higher tier, but from what I can tell from a visual, these bikes actually share very similar suspension, so that's really cool to see. Also, level of paint on this bike is perfect. The Kawasaki's is also perfect. Not really compromising any sort of major paint quality types when switching between the two. However, something I noticed is that these stickers are not clear coated on this bike, while on the Ducati, they are underneath the clear coat. So you cannot remove those stickers off of this bike. Also, these bikes both share a full aluminum swing arms and frames. So you're not really compromising any of that race technology when swapping between these two bikes. And of course, the final difference that you're paying for between these two bikes is just pure horsepower. This bike has 210 horsepower with the full Acura exhaust that it has on it. It's going to be going well over 200 miles an hour on this bike, and that's just because you're paying for all that extra horsepower. Meanwhile, you're getting about 130 horsepower out of a 636cc motor on this bike, so probably going to be going around 170 horse, probably going to be going around 170 miles an hour-ish on Kawasaki. However, do you think it's actually worth the extra $20,000? I don't know. This is my bike. I did pay for this bike, but my business is motorcycles. My business is making content on motorcycles, so it was easier to justify. However, I did own one of these bikes before I was making money off of social media, so you kind of know my choice that I would make if I was not doing social media. I try not to come off too douchey in this video because I don't want to be like, oh yeah, dude, the V4 is so much better. Oh, but it's obviously it is.
Obviously, it's better than this bike.
You're also paying for it. It's also an extra 20 grand.
The price difference is so different though.
It literally is it's not even, it's a completely different world. Comparing I don't know.
A Grom to a 600.
It's not a completely different world. It's kind of, they're both racy bikes. You can take them to the track and have fun.
I feel like though this bike would be better on the track than that bike because that bike has too much bike.
You gotta speak up. I can't hear you, bro.
I feel like this bike is gonna be better on the track than that bike, only because that's a lot of bike for a track.
True, but if you get
if you're just starting, this is a good ass start bike.
Yeah, if you're just starting, yeah, obviously. But if you get someone who's experienced, that's why they use the V4s and MotoGP and stuff.
That's true. That's fair.
If you get someone who knows what they're doing, it's gonna be way faster.
Oh, absolutely. But you're not going to use the full bike.
I probably wouldn't, but someone who knows what they're doing would.
That's true. Well, I don't know. I feel like this, you have a chance to use the full bike to its potential.
On the track?
Anyway,
There have been instances where you can use the full power of a 1000 on the road.
when are you going above 185 miles an hour?
Let's say there's someone who is, someone gets mad. There are people on the road who just hate motorcyclists.
Oh, absolutely. Deal with them all the time.
So you have your girl in the back. They're trying to swerve at you and try to hit you. Wouldn't it be easier to just fuck off in the distance on one of these?
Oh, absolutely. I got fair point. Touche.
Especially when you have someone on the back who's weighing you down. You appreciate the extra CCs when you're trying to get away from that.
I guess. This is true.
This is how I justify this to my tax guy when I'm looking at my taxes. Why are you spending $36,000 on a motorcycle, bro? I'm like,
Safety.
you get the good brakes on this one and all the
Better
carbon.
suspension, too.
What?
Better suspension.
That's how I justified it to my mom. She asked me why I spent $2,000 on a helmet. Safety.
How much is my head really worth?
What?
That's what I would say to my mom. How much is my head really worth to you?
Oh, nothing. That's her response to me. But she's like, your head's not worth saving.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
No, I'm kidding. My mom loves me. But no, this is honestly just a flex helmet. And same with this bike. It's a flex bike. Like, if you're spending this much on a bike, it's the flex. Full honesty.
You're not wrong. It's a nice bike, though.
I also love the extra horsepower, though. I can't wait.
He's got it tuned and everything.
Wheelie it whenever you want.
My bike's made for wheeling, though.
But also, if you drop that bike, if you dump it in a parking lot, it's like $500 to fix. Drop this, it's gonna be like $2,000.
Probably a little bit more.
Honestly, depending if you hit the tank or not, probably more.
The tank itself is $5,000.
You can't find this on eBay. You can probably find a tank off of that on eBay for like $200.
Well, not this bike, though. Well, older models.
As long as you don't care about the colors matching.
I'm thinking about grabbing the hammer. Pop, 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 pop.
Literally, people will do that all the time with that. But like that bike, parts for that bike are so cheap, and you can find them readily. Like, you can find them on eBay for half of what they cost from the manufacturer, which they are already cheap from the manufacturer.
Yep.
And then you can fix your bike within a week.
That's true.
This bike, you gotta wait like months for parts, and like sometimes
I would
breaks.
say months.
What?
Depending on what part, it takes about a good 4 days. Because it gets shipped from Italy, but Ducati with their DHL contract, they make it so it comes in within 4 to 5 business days.
Oh, that's good done. I'm not trying to shit on this bike by any means. I love this thing, and I bought it for a reason. I'm just saying, I think they're, for people who are getting into motorcycles, I don't want to give them the wrong idea of, oh, you have to go out and spend 30 grand on a bike. Like, no, it's only as expensive as you want it to be. You can start out on like, my first bike cost me $2,300.
That's kind of nice. Real nice.
It ran great. I ran it for a whole season. It was perfect. I only did one oil change on it, and that was it. It had 26,000 miles.
What? That's crazy.
How much was your first bike?
4,000? It was a
Pretty cheap.
KLX 300.
Yeah, it
So
was
nothing
reliable.
crazy.
You ran it, you crashed it.
Just graded.
I don't know. I get people who are talking all the time. They're like, "Bro, motorcycles are too expensive." No, it's really not.
No, it all depends on, honestly, it's just about your credit score. If you have a high enough credit score, any bike's affordable.
Also, I'm sorry if I sounded sick in this video. I'm still kind of recovering from a brief little sore throat. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Like the video if you learned something, and subscribe. Appreciate it. Bye.